It's Jaguar Sleek, Jaguar Quick, and Jaguar Agile, but the I-Pace is unlike anything the company has ever done. It's fully electric and rated to travel over 230 miles on a single charge, which should take care of the dreaded range anxiety.
You might be thinking, Tom, you've already profiled the I-Pace. Yes, I have. At the press launch in Portugal, I was able to take it out on the track there and found out it's an absolute hoot to drive. It's really hard to imagine this is an SUV because it really does handle like a sports car.
That's right.
And after numerous hard laps, there were no performance issues.
They also gave us a chance to take it off-road.
And again, it performed very well in the dirt and the water.
But those events are very controlled situations, as you might imagine, and I was curious what it's like to live with I-Pace day after day after day.
Let's address the obvious. The I-Pace doesn't really align with anything that Tesla makes other than they're both EVs. The Model 3 is a sedan and the X is much larger with the option of 3 rows of seating. I-Pace is a hatchbacky crossover that's strictly a 2-row machine. So, until Model Y comes out, which will be a while, I'm not going to directly compare the brands. I-Pace has this segment to itself until Audi e-tron and Mercedes EQC hit the market. Okay, one comparison, Jaguar and Tesla take distinctly different approaches to the cabin. The Jag is far more traditional. Hard buttons and knobs for important controls are a plus. There's less screen scrolling. A dual unit approach gives users a place to anchor thumbs while using the interface, so it's more accurate on bumpy roads, though I'll point out this interface still has some lag, and it once blanked out on me for 30 seconds. Android Auto and Apple CarPlay are standard. I find the I-Pace's atmosphere much more inviting than anything that Tesla makes. There's a richer look here with better craftsmanship. Okay, I'm done with that. Let's move on to driving. Rich in aluminum, this cat is still hefty.
The I-Pace weighs nearly 5,000 pounds and yet will do 0 to 60 in about 4.3 seconds. And it does that very silently. The best part about this car is that even at speed, when you punch it, it really moves.
Electric motors have gobs of torque, and torque is your friend. It satisfies the soul and may even cure cancer. Okay, it won't, but it might be the fountain of youth. I've been told by Jaguar engineers that the aerodynamics which guide air through this slot, then under the spoiler, eliminate the need for a rear wiper. That's more true at highway speeds than city motoring.
One thing about the I-Pace, it's not terribly efficient. It uses a 90 kilowatt hour battery to achieve its 234 mile EPA rated range. Tesla Model X covers about the same distance with a 75 kilowatt hour battery. Chevy Bolt, 60 kilowatt hours.
And since batteries, lithium-ion in the Jag's case, are what make electric cars so expensive, efficiency is important. Regardless of that, there are issues that apply to all battery-powered cars.
Let's talk about EVs and temperature. Batteries do not like the cold. I'll estimate that the I-Pace's range drops to about 180 miles when it dips below freezing. Something to keep in mind if you live in a cold climate. Like the visual? I had it trucked in. I'm up in the budget.
Actually, Seattle was hit by a cold snap, perfect for testing. I found the estimated range was closer to 150 miles, with temperatures hovering in the mid-20s. Even at that reduced figure, charging every night means over 1,000 miles a week, and few people drive that much. You'll need a level 2 charger to make life with I-Pace feasible.
The vast majority of EV charging is done at home, but if you need to juice up, there are plenty of public stations at restaurants, hotels. This is the grocery store where I shop. You don't need to have a Tesla and the supercharging system.
In warmer weather, a full charge takes 13 hours. It's longer in Arctic conditions. With some planning, weekend road trips should be no problem. And most households that can afford an I-Pace have 2 or more cars. Just saying. That battery with 432 pouch cells is mounted in the floor. All-wheel drive is standard, with 2 electric motors generating a total of 395 horsepower and 516 pound-feet of torque.
Jaguars are known for their throaty growl. This one's all electric with no range extender whatsoever. So, as far as sound is concerned, that's all you're going to get.
There is no transmission to speak of. That's common with EVs, so don't expect paddles here. Tune the dynamic to your driving style or mood. There are performance gauges for people intending to wring I-Pace out at the track. The air suspension raises 2 inches for off-roading or lowers about a ½ inch at freeway speeds for efficiency.
You can put I-Pace into a fairly aggressive regeneration mode, and it makes one-pedal driving pretty easy. Also, the transition from regeneration braking to physical braking is pretty smooth.
I actually had the I-Pace on 2 separate occasions because that snowstorm kept me from putting much mileage on it the first time. Yes, it does have all-wheel drive, but Seattle streets become ice sheets. I'm wary of taking very expensive vehicles on the equivalent of a skating rink when they're shod with all-season tires. In warmer but still cold weather, around 45 degrees, I'll estimate that the I-Pace will go 190 miles on a charge.
This is a heavy car, and you definitely feel the weight, but it's down low, so when you sling into a corner, it's like ballast, like you're anchored to the road.
Simply put, I-Pace is a joy to drive. There are tones that can be selected for acceleration. None of them sound like a gas engine. I turn them off because I like the silent, powerful dynamic of electric vehicles.
Ride quality is fairly smooth. I will say, though, hit sharp bumps, and they definitely transmit through the chassis, which, by the way, is very, very rigid.
All that's heard at high speed is a smooth rush of wind over the car, another aspect of EVs that I like. Because there's no engine sound to mask chassis noises, it's critical to keep suspension and brake components refined. This is a pre-production car driven hard by automotive writers. But check on your test drive for sounds like this. The cockpit doesn't just look good, it's very functional with a bunch of small places to stash things away. The designers say that 2 bottles of wine will fit here. This is all I have handy. I could use some hot water right now. Cabin lighting can be changed depending if you're in a relaxed state of mind or ready to race. The switch to displays in the cluster instead of physical gauges has accelerated, and not just in EVs. An efficiency trick, a smart climate mode only targets the seats that are occupied. And I like the comfort of these seats as much as the design.
Sorry, couldn't take you to Portugal. The plane ticket was kind of expensive. Well, it would have been a lot warmer. It's just about freezing here. At least this is a nice place to be in a cold spot.
I have my own temperature zone back here, and the same multifunction knob found up front controls the toasty heated seats. There's storage plenty back here, and the only reason phones couldn't be charged is if you forgot a cord. Head, foot, knee, and legroom are generous. There's storage under the seats for flat things like laptop computers. The floor is very flat. 3 can be belted in here. Obviously, comfort depends on how big passengers are, but 3 average adults should be fine for urban trips.
I couldn't do this test in Portugal because I was in too much of a hurry, and I don't even know if there are Costco's in Portugal. Let's start here. The load floor is a bit on the high side.
Storage? Yes. Spare tire? That's a $150 option. There are handy bits to make the I-Pace very usable. All of that is well done. It's a moderate reach to drop the seat backs. Keep up on the yoga. This opens up a very large space to stash bikes in big boxes. The I-Pace excels at doing chores, though I would like to see a 40-20-40 folding feature. With all the seats filled, the trunk would accommodate a suitcase for each person, plus an extra one for those who can't pack lightly. 6 packs is an average score for a crossover this size, and yes, there's a frunk, but it's only good for a bag of groceries. Like all electric cars, the I-Pace is expensive. Fully optioned, this one retails for about $89,000 before any state and federal tax incentives. The base price, which includes the fixed glass roof, LED headlamps, and the same all-wheel drive and range as a loaded model, begins at $70,500 with shipping. And Adding $5,000 worth of options like automatic emergency braking, the cold weather package, and an upgraded sound system is all that's needed to make it a very appealing package. Weather conditions kept me from finding the optimal range of the I-Pace. I'll guess that 60 to 70 degree temperatures would return real-world range closer to 220 miles than the rated 234. But those that want a practical, attractive EV will enjoy life with this cat. It's a crossover that runs like a sports car. I-Pace may not sound like a Jaguar, but it sure looks and drives like one. The comments will inevitably fill up with opinions concerning reliability. Electric vehicles have far fewer moving parts. The brakes tend to last much longer since regeneration makes up a lot of the slowing down, and the battery warranty is 8 years or 100,000 miles, redeemable if the efficiency drops below 70%. Simply put, JLR is in new territory here. Over-the-air updates can be done, so that will help. Let's not forget that Tesla is hardly without its problems. Speaking of, many of you wonder why I don't review them. It's because Tesla doesn't generally work with mainstream auto writers. I do my best to keep a car for at least a few days to really understand them, something I can't do with a car borrowed from a friend. So, while I've enjoyed driving them, I'll pass on reviewing them for now. And finally, I was set to get lovely drone shots, but my Phantom 4 hit a whisper of a branch that I didn't see. It got caught in the props, so that's the end of that. I had it for years before this happened, so I can't complain. I think I'll be switching to a Mavic Air.
Hope that shed some light on what it's like to live with the Jaguar I-Pace. Now, I understand not everybody can afford an EV or has the ability to charge it up at home. But if you do, I highly suggest that you look into one. Full disclosure, I am a big fan of electric cars. In fact, I own 2 plug-in hybrids, a Cadillac ELR and a Chevy Volt that my wife just recently bought. And one thing about that, she is not a car person whatsoever, but she is very excited about that. She hasn't bought a drop of gasoline, and she's actually bragged about it to her friends. So, frankly, it's kind of neat to see her excited about a car for once. That, and she's got so many other great qualities. That's Driven. I'm Tom Voelk. Hey, that's my dentist. She's in a Bolt. Hang on. This is my dentist. She owns an electric car.
Awesome.
She's very smart.